My name is Robert Shaw. I want you to know I am a genius. No, really I am. My IQ is somewhere around 160, so that qualifies me as a genius. I was the smartest kid in my grade school. By the time I was in the 10th grade, I was taking college courses. I graduated college when I was 19 and started working on my master's in computer science. When I completed my master's degree, I was recruited to work for a company that keeps everything working. Know what I mean? Not exactly? I will try to explain. When you got up this morning, you turned on the light in your bathroom, right? Well, I make that possible. You washed your face. That's me also. When you stopped to buy that $10 cup of coffee and paid with your credit card, yeah, you got it. That's me. Know what I mean? Okay, I'll try again. All those things I mentioned above, well, I keep the bad guys from messing with them. I keep your information safe. I keep the grid up. Now you understand. Well, all that studying and preparing came at a price. My love life, to be exact. I was a virgin until I was 20 years old. My first time? It was more of a lab experiment than a sexual event. We both had climaxed, so we called it a success and never did it again. It was after I had received my bonus and went to work with a six-figure salary that I decided to try my luck at picking up women for intimacy. I bought a $3,000 suit, a $15,000 Rolex, and a $400,000 Maserati. I told you that the bonus was impressive. Believe it or not, the first two ventures out into the world, I came up empty. Then one night, I had just parked in front of the bar, walked in, and sat on a stool. I ordered whiskey, straight. I hated the taste, so this would last all night. I kept tipping the bartender, so she let me keep my seat. This good-looking blonde sits down next to me and asks if I will buy her a drink. She talks, and I listen for about an hour. I try to talk to girls as little as possible so they don't notice how shy I am. She carried on the conversation, but finally said she had to go. She asked me to take her to dinner Saturday night, so I got her address and phone number. I was off and running. Saturday evening, I showed up with flowers. She thanked me, put them in water, and we left for the restaurant. She loved the car and asked a million questions about it. I had reservations at a really nice and expensive restaurant, and it was romantic. After supper, we drove around town, just killing time. Back at her apartment, I walked her to the door and received a kiss on the cheek. I was in heaven when she asked me out again for the next week. It was 2 weeks later, after the third date, that I was invited in and got the full boyfriend treatment. We took a break and then repeated the act. I was a stud. She told me so. This went on for about 6 months. Then one night she wanted to stay in. Over a cold turkey sandwich, she told me I was going to be a father. Now I was surprised. I'll tell you why later. But I asked what she wanted to do. She said her religion would not let her get an abortion, so she was going to have the baby. I told her I would do the right thing and marry her if she wanted. She did, and 2 days later we were on the way to Las Vegas in the wee chapel of love. We celebrated at the MGM and then came home. I moved her out of her apartment and into my house. Okay, it's more of a mansion than a house. 5 bedrooms, 6 baths, 4-car garage, swimming pool, tennis courts, hot tub. Complete gym in the basement that I had never used, and a theater room with stadium seating for 30 people, also never used. She was happy. She quit her job to get ready for the baby. I thought every day that I would come home and find her crying about having a miscarriage. You see, we were supposedly exclusive when we were dating. So when she told me we were pregnant, she did not know I am sterile. Have been for a long time. My mother was one of those people who did not believe in childhood vaccinations. I got the mumps, and after it was over, I was sterile. I never told her, and never would. Having kids was a dream of mine. I am an only child. Both my parents were only children, and now they are both dead. I literally have no family. The day we found out that she was having twins, I was the happiest man in the world. I never let her suspect that I knew the kids were not mine. The babies were born. Twin boys. They looked just like me. Black hair and blue eyes. Okay, they had their mother's nose. But anyway, I was happier than I had ever been. I knew the truth. but I accepted the boys as my sons. It was maybe 2 months after they were born that Sue changed. Some type of postpartum depression. We went through 3 nannies. She was impossible to be around. Then one day it changed. She was happy, laughing, and even playing with the kids. She went out once or twice a week with some of her old girlfriends. I accepted it and really did not mind. We were being intimate again, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and I was taking care of my sons a couple of nights a week, and I enjoyed that. It was one day at lunch that an old girlfriend of Sue's walked up to my table and asked about the twins and Sue. After a little light conversation as she was leaving, she said, "Tell Sue to call me sometime. I haven't seen that girl in ages." Now that was a strange remark. Sue and she had gone out for drinks just last night. That started the surveillance. I put a GPS tracking device on her car, a GPS device on her phone, and cameras all over our house. The cameras were in case she decided to bring her lover home. That never happened. But the devices on her car and phone did show me where she went and who she met. The next time she went out for drinks with the girls, I tracked her to a motel on the edge of town. With my sons in their baby seats, I waited outside room 104. I saw her car parked next to another car in front of the room. It was the only other car in the lot with our state's license plates. I took pictures of the car and the plates, then went home. The boys were bathed and asleep when she came in. She went directly into the shower, then came to bed, kissing me on the cheek and telling me she was tired. Yeah, I bet. The next day, Mr. Paul Stewart's wife got the pictures of his car parked at the Super 9 motel. The note said the car next to him belonged to Sue Shaw. To say the shit hit the fan is an understatement. Mrs. Stewart showed up at our house and slapped the shit out of Sue. I had rushed home when I supposedly got the same photos on my email. I saw the slap. I confronted Sue and she did not lie. She said she was sorry and that it would not happen again. It was just a fling that had been caused by her depression. She cried. I cried and forgave her. I tried to understand. But I told her this was the only time. Next time I would divorce her and take the kids. She said she understood and promised never to again. Things went back to normal for almost a year, but I never removed the GPS devices or the cameras. From the perspective of Sue Shaw, how did both my husband and Paul's wife find out about us? Robert was home with my kids, not his. I tried for months to get pregnant by him, but it never took, so I took matters into my own hands. I found a black-haired, blue-eyed guy at a bar one night and hooked up with him until he was completely spent. I don't even remember his name, but it worked. Now Robert is so attached to those kids he is threatening to kick me to the curb and take the kids. Sometimes he is so naive. This is a no-fault state. I could sleep with the entire local high school football team, and I would still get the kids, the house, child support, and a substantial alimony check since I don't work, and he makes great money repairing computers or whatever he does. I never could get a straight answer out of him about his job. About 6 months after that woman slapped me and filed for divorce from her big husband, I saw an old friend. Jamal Atkins, he was my first. Know what I mean? I was a junior. He was a senior and on the basketball team. It ended when my dad was transferred out of state. I moved on, and so did Jamal, I guess. I never heard from him again. But a couple of friends of mine from back home said he had gotten into trouble with the law, but then left town. Now here he was, big as life in front of me. He looked at me, and I knew he remembered. "Jamal?" "Sue?" he replied. He offered his hand, but I stepped forward and kissed his lips, right there in Winn-Dixie on the bread aisle. We talked for a minute and exchanged phone numbers. I told him I was married, but I wanted us to get back together. He understood. I told him I would call him when I could arrange a time. He said he was not married or seeing anybody. He was living in a rented house in a nice neighborhood. I knew the subdivision. This is better than a hotel. He also told me he was a warehouse manager but worked on Saturdays and Sundays, so he was off Wednesdays and Thursdays. I thought that strange, but did not question him. Also, he had on a work shirt that said James, where his name should be. I thought I would ask about that later. Now I had to go. The nanny got off at 3 p.m. and I had to start supper for Robert. Back to the perspective of Robert. When I got home that day, there was a nice pot roast simmering in the kitchen. Sue acted a little too friendly. It raised my suspicions. I checked the GPS both on her phone and in her car. Nothing out of the normal. Since her last affair, she had acted normal, and we made love 3 or 4 times a week. We did it all. She was acting so weird that I decided to start checking her more than my usual once a week. I also decided to borrow her phone after supper. I installed this new app. When her phone rang, I got a message and could listen in if I wanted. I could also listen to her outgoing calls without her knowing. I could turn on the phone when I wanted, and it became a listening device that was good up to about 15 feet. Technology is amazing these days. From the perspective of Sue, I waited until the next Tuesday to call Jamal. Let me tell you something. I love my husband. In a way, I think. Look, I was raised in a blue-collar household. We were always a little short of money, but my parents made it work. I swore to myself that I was going to do better in life. The night I saw Robert pull up in that Maserati and then sit at the bar showing off his Rolex, I went after him. I did what I had to do. That shy introvert was like putty in my hands. Within 6 months, I was pregnant and married. He was so excited about the kids. That tied me to him and that big paycheck of his forever. But I am going to have my fun with Jamal, and Robert is not going to know or find out. Wednesday, I pull into Jamal's garage. I go into his house through the garage. No one knows I am here. There will be no pictures this time. How should I describe this time with Jamal? It was amazing. I really got off thinking I had pulled one over on my genius husband. He would never know. I even said that he was so much better than my husband. Most of the things I said were just in the heat of passion, and I did not mean. I had not thought of Jamal in years. After he came, I went to the bathroom and cleaned up. Jamal wanted me to stay, but I could not. I did not want to raise suspicions with Robert, but I promised I would be back tomorrow. We had started going to church, and they offered a Mother's Day off program. I could drop the kids off at 9 a.m. and pick them up at 3 p.m. We could spend more time together. That seemed fine with Jamal, so we made it a date for the next day. I went home really happy. I was in control again. I did feel a little guilty, so in bed that night, I let Robert do his thing. From the perspective of Robert. She thinks she got away with what she did today. I may have missed the first part, but I was listening when she was telling her lover about how she missed him and how he was the best. Crap. I thought we had gotten past all that. I had found out the house was rented to James Lincoln. I pulled up his driver's license, and he was black. He had a car registered in his name, and he worked in a warehouse in an industrial park here in town. He was a forklift driver. How did she meet him? Why does she keep calling him Jamal? I need more time to check him out and develop a plan to get him out of our lives, just like I did with that Stewart character. From the perspective of Jamal. Want to know my story? Okay, here goes. I played high school basketball. I was good, but not that good. My senior year, I met Sue, and we started dating. I got her cherry one night in the back seat of my grandmother's Buick. Of course it was good. We dated about 6 months, as I remember then she moved off. I never heard from her again. I graduated, and of course there was no job for a poor black kid who barely graduated. My basketball skills did not get me any offers to go to college, so I did the only thing available. I started selling drugs on the corner. I was bringing in good money. My grandmother did not approve and tried to get me to stop, but I could not find anything else. I moved up in the organization. I became a favorite with one of the Mexican bosses, and I started managing some of the guys on the corners. One night, this Mexican and I caught one of my boys stealing from us. To set an example, I took him in an alley and capped his ass. At first, I planned on throwing that gun in the river, but then I had an idea. This Mexican liked to practice shooting his pistol, so I took him to a gun range. As we were finishing up, I made a joke about my pistol not shooting straight. He took it and fired it about 8 times and handed it back to me saying, "It's not the pistol, it's the pistolero." I said a sarcastic thanks while grinning on the inside. Things went well for almost 2 years. I was moving up in the Rio Bravo cartel. I had my own section of the city and I was rolling in dough. I picked up 10 kilos of heroin at the border and was on my way to deliver them when I had a flat. A cop stopped to help me. I tried, too hard I guess, to tell him I did not need any help. He opened the trunk and about 5 more cop cars appeared. I had been discovered. They were all feds, and after I was booked, a lawyer appeared. He told me to keep my mouth shut and he would get me a deal. 2 days later, he comes in and tells me they offered 25 years. I would be out in 15. I told him, sure, set it up. Back in my cell, I told the guard I wanted to talk to the DEA agent who busted me. In an interview room outside of the ears of the other prisoners, I made a better deal. I told them a story about Jose Gomez shooting a street dealer and I had the pistol with his prints on it to prove it. I wanted witness protection and no jail time. To make a long story short, you should just know I delivered the gun. The bullets matched, of course. Jose was arrested and I testified against him at trial. He got 99 years in a federal supermax prison. No parole and 1 30-minute visit a month. No phone calls. I found out that Jose was Don Ricardo's oldest son. Don Ricardo? He is the head of the Rio Bravo cartel. He was not happy with me. He put a $500,000 reward for the person who would bring him my head. Yes, that's right, my head. That is one of the things they do. Cut the heads off their enemies. I was moved to another city and given $100,000 for my testimony. I rented an apartment and got a job in a warehouse. I was taught to drive a forklift, and for 2 years I loaded trucks. Then one day a driver said, "Hey, Jamal." I about swallowed my tongue. I turned to find a guy I had played basketball with in high school. We shook hands and he told me how he met a girl and married her. She was from here in town. They moved here to be close to her family. He wanted us to get together this weekend and relive old times. When he left, I called my contact in the marshal's office and I was moved that very night. I stayed for 2 nights in a cheap hotel, studying my new identity. When I had it memorized, I started job hunting. I enjoyed driving a forklift and it was easy to get a job. I was getting settled in when, on my day off, I went to the grocery. There was Sue. I had not thought of her in years, but after talking and finding out about her, I made a big mistake. I did not notify the marshals. I did not want the hassle of moving again, and besides, according to her, she had as much to lose as I did. Okay, maybe her husband would not cut off her head, but she did not want to lose the lifestyle she has. So if we were both careful, I could stay here and enjoy that. She would enjoy me and nobody would be the wiser. A win-win situation. The first time was just too short. She had to get home, but she promised she would be back the next day and she could stay longer. Back to the perspective of Sue. I dropped the twins off at the church and raced to Jamal's. I had until 2:30 and I planned on using every minute of it. The garage was opened when I pulled in and parked. I am so naughty. No one knows I am here, my car is hidden, and I have 5 hours to be with Jamal. I am in heaven. I had set my phone on his bedside table just in case of an emergency with the kids or Robert. I was not expecting a call, but you can't be too careful. From the perspective of Robert, I heard it all today, her begging him not to stop, to do it harder, and how he touched her in places I never could. At one point, she screamed, "Jamal Akins, you are the best I ever had." Okay, now I know his last name. James Lincoln must be a roommate. No, wait, his driver's license has James Lincoln and his picture. I need to do some checking into this Jamal Akins. Oh boy, did I just hit pay dirt? This Jamal is in the Federal Witness Protection Program. According to the Darknet, there is a reward for his head from the Rio Bravo cartel. Those Mexicans don't play around when it comes to rats. I bet they will make me a deal. I was sitting at the kitchen table when Sue came in. I usually did not get home until around 5, so she was surprised. Back to the perspective of Sue. Robert is home. Something must be wrong. His work, I suspect. I'll let him have me again tonight if he wants. That will put him in a better mood. I rush in, and Robert does not kiss me. He helps me get the boys settled in their big playpen in front of the television. I go into the kitchen to start supper, and Robert tells me to sit down. Now I am worried. I got a phone call today from your phone. My phone? I replied. Listen, I recorded the message. He pressed play, and I almost fainted. Harder. God, yes, right there. Don't stop. I reached over and pushed stop. When I took the phone out of my purse and laid it on the table by the bed, I must have hit the speed dial for Robert. As I sit there trying to think of something to say, he starts. Remember what I told you would happen if I ever caught you cheating again? I look at him. This is that same introvert that I tricked into marrying me. He is shy, unsure of himself around girls, almost a beta male. Okay, I decided to take a different approach. Robert, stop. Just stop. You are not going to divorce me. You would lose big time. This is a no-fault state. Adultery would not make a difference. The boys and I would get the house. You would have to pay all our expenses, child support, and alimony. Since I do not work, and you make a fortune, the alimony would be substantial. Hell, I could move Jamal in here to help me raise your kids, and there is nothing you could do about it. So think before you make the greatest mistake of your life. Who is this Jamal? He asked. He is my old high school boyfriend, my first. I met him last week at the grocery, and yesterday was the first time we ever got together. Think about it. I did not come home and give you sloppy seconds. Believe me, this fascination with his big Johnson will pass. He is a selfish lover. In 2 or 3 months, I will drop him, and we can get back to our life of raising the kids together like it should be. Not you getting them once a month and living in an apartment somewhere. How about it? I get to be intimate with you every time you go to Jamal's? That's what I am proposing, I replied. Okay, but I want you to promise me some things, and I will trust that you keep your word. Things like what? I asked. First, you will not fall in love with this guy and leave me for him. Don't worry about that. I promise never to let that happen. Jamal works in a warehouse. No way I am running off with that working-class stiff. Second, never bring Jamal to our house. I promise never to do that. This place is ours and the kids. No one else, I replied. Third, I do not want Jamal to know that I know about him. That is to be our little secret, something that I can hold in my head while I know he is with you. That will be our secret, something you share only with me. That's easy, baby. I promise he will always think it is just he and I. I see why you want this. Something you and I share. Fourth, no calling Jamal from the home phone. If you want to talk to him, go outside on the deck and use your cell. No problem with that. I have not called him but a couple of times, and he has never called me. I just called to confirm that he was going to be home and did not have to work. So I will have no problem with that. Robert, this is not like high school. We are not in love. It is just intimacy for both of us. That's why I know it will not last. Okay, you have a deal. When is the next time you plan on meeting Jamal? He asked. Like I told you, this is only going to be a Wednesday and Thursday thing. No nights, no going out to a club or for drinks and dancing. This is just intimacy, nothing more, I replied. I do love Robert in a way. He is a genius, but he is also a dumbass in a lot of ways. I can talk my way out of anything. All he needs to forgive my cheating with a man is the promise that he can have back intimacy with me. I bet in 6 months I can have him watching me being intimate with Jamal. Robert is the perfect he just does not know it yet. Back to the perspective of Robert. I told her I had to work on Saturday and Sunday. That was a lie. I was getting everything in order. Erasing all my tracks into the dark web and the searches for Jamal Atkins and James Lincoln. Also, I made an appointment with an attorney in a different city. What attorney, you ask? Jose Gomez's attorney, who was filing an appeal for Jose. I told him I knew where a witness was located that he may need. I also had a video that he may be interested in, but it would cost him. When he asked how much, I told him $500,000. He got the message. Sunday night, I played too tired to have intimacy. She accused me of sulking. I left the house early Tuesday morning. I had a 2-hour flight to the city where Jose Gomez's attorney was located. I had taken off work that day and had told Sue I was hosting an important meeting and would be home late tonight. His office was impressive. The name on the door read, Stephen Judd, Esquire, Attorney at Law, an egotistical person, I imagine. I walked in and was shown directly into his office. "Mr. Shaw, how can I help you?" "Mr. Judd, it is I that can help you." "Please have a seat." "I'll get right to the point. I have information that will help you with the appeal in the Jose Gomez case." I hand him a thumb drive. He looks at it and then plugs it into his computer. After about 10 minutes, he asked where I got what he was looking at on his screen. "That particular gun range stores all its video in the cloud. It seems you are interested in doing business?" "Yes, I am." "But the other matter? You know where this particular witness can be found?" "Yes, I do, but I want some—" "Stop. Will you please wait in the lobby for a few minutes? I have to confer with an associate of mine." I got up and sat in the lobby. 15 minutes later, his door opens and out walks a beautiful Mexican lady. She was not in the office when I was there, so she must have come in through another door. "Hello, Mr. Shaw. I am Maria. Why don't I take you to lunch?" I stammer out an okay. Rather loudly, I think. Then this Judd guy says, "Good, well, there will be no need for you to contact this office in the future. Maria will take good care of you. Thank you, Mr. Shaw, and I am sorry this office could not help you." Maria took my arm and we walked out to the elevators. Don't worry. As Jose's attorney, he wants to keep his knowledge of anything to a minimum. Attorneys, I hate them. We took the elevator to the parking garage. There she walked towards a man standing beside a big Lincoln Town car. It was black with blacked-out windows. When this guy opens the door, I notice the insides are black leather. This car should have one of those bumper stickers. You know the one I am talking about. "Mafia staff car. You touch, I break your face." Her chauffeur opens the door, and she slides in and scoots over. She patted the seat and asked, "Are you coming?" I jumped in next to her. In for a penny, in for a pound ran through my mind. I could not take my eyes off this beauty. Long black hair down to the middle of her back, dark, almost black eyes. She turned in the seat to face me. "Louis, take us to Mama Torres. I hope you like Mexican food." "Of course." I was at a loss for words. All the problems I had with talking to girls, my shyness, my not wanting to talk, were back. This woman was a princess, a beautiful Latin princess. She was white, not dark-skinned, but you could tell she was a Latina. I could not take my eyes off her. The silence was getting awkward, so I started to open my mouth to speak. She took my hand and looked me in the eye. "Wait until we get to the restaurant. There we will have more privacy. I saw what was on the thumb drive." No more was said until we arrived at the restaurant. I could not take my eyes off those stockinged legs or the cleavage her blouse showed. At the restaurant, we were greeted like royalty. It was obliviously not her first time here. We were shown to a private dining area and the door closed. I noticed the waiter went to a credenza near the door and turned on a jamming device. I grinned. This conversation was about to get very interesting. "Now, Robert, we can talk. Do you know where Jamal Atkins is at?" "Yes," I replied. "You know we have a $500,000 reward for his whereabouts. You give me his location and I will arrange payment. How much do you want for that thumb drive?" "I am not interested in money. The thumb drive is free. I just happened across it while researching Jamal. A good trial attorney or the feds could have found it 2 years ago and avoided all this." "The feds wanted to convict Jose. They never could get proof on a drug charge, and they were so excited when this Jamal offered his evidence they never investigated any further." "Well, I hope it helps. But about the money for the location of this rat, I need something else," I replied. "Just tell me. I can make a lot of things happen. What do you want?" Just then, the waiter arrived with our meal. What a spread! Enchiladas, fajitas, refried beans, guacamole, tacos, and tortillas. 2 Dos XX beers were sat on the table. "Let's eat while you tell me." So over the best Mexican food I ever ate, I poured out my life story. I started at my birth and finished with my wife wanting me to agree to let her fool around with Jamal. When I was at the part about me knowing the twins were not mine, due to me being sterile, she had smiled. I told her it was not funny, and she apologized, saying she was not laughing at me. Just that she knew the feeling of wanting a family and not being able to have one. She told me about her having problems with her period when she was 15. The doctors had discovered cysts on her ovaries and had removed them. She also would never have any kids. When I told her about my wife's 2 affairs, she mumbled, "Puta." After I finished my life story, I came to the part I was dreading. "When you take Jamal, take her also. If you do that for me, I'll consider us even." "Are you sure? I mean, what about the kids?" "My boys are not yet 3 years old, so they will not remember their mother. I'll hire a live-in nanny to help me raise them, and in a month or so, they will forget about their lying, cheating woman of a mother." "So when is the next time they will be together?" "Tomorrow morning," I replied. "Then kiss your wife goodbye forever in the morning." "So soon? Don't you need time to plan something? I mean, you have less than 24 hours. It seems—" She stopped me. "We let him get away 3 months ago by waiting for the weekend. We will not make that mistake again. Give me his address. If you are finished, I will get you to the airport." I finished my second beer, and she walked with me to the curb. She signaled for a waiting taxi, and as it pulled up, I opened the door and started to get in. She stopped me. I looked into those beautiful dark eyes. Then she kissed me on my cheek, whispering, "Thank you," in my ear. As my taxi pulled off, I saw Louie shut the car door after she slid in the back seat. I doubt I will ever see her again. It is Wednesday afternoon, and I am in the bunker, that place where I take care of everything I told you about previously. My secretary 2 floors up buzzes me and tells me I have visitors waiting in the lobby. I take the elevator up and go into my office through the side door. I buzz her back to show them in. "Mr. Shaw, I am Detective Jones. This is my partner, Joe Friday." We shake hands and I invite them to sit. "Mr. Shaw, I'll get right to the point. Do you know where your wife is?" "Well, this morning she told me after the nanny arrived, she was going shopping at the mall, then to the grocery store, and then home." "Why?" "Is this a picture of your wife?" "Oh my God, yes, what happened?" "We are not really sure. We dispatched a car to investigate shots fired at the residence of James Lincoln. We found your wife dead. Do you know a James Lincoln?" "No, sir, please give me a minute. Our twins," I sob. "I know this is hard, but we need some answers. Where were you this morning around 10 a.m.? "Here. I arrived at my usual time of 8 a.m. I have not left my office all day. You can check with my secretary and FBI Special Agent Pilgrim. I am doing some background searches for the FBI, and Agent Pilgrim was in my office this morning from 9 a.m. until about 10:30. Call him and eliminate me immediately. That will free you up to find the real killer. Where was she found?" Friday got up and left my office. I figure he is talking to my secretary and probably calling the local FBI office. He comes in and whispers in Jones's ear. "Okay, your story checks out. Do you know a Jamal Atkins?" "Well, not personally. You see, he was my wife's first boyfriend in high school. She told me about him. Well, according to our information, he and this James Lincoln are the same person." "How is that possible?" I asked. "Witness protection," said Friday. "Look, we are working on 2 theories. The first is that the Rio Bravo cartel found out about him and he blamed your wife and shot her. Or maybe he wanted to run off together and she would not go and he shot her. Anyway, we know he shot her. We found the weapon, a .45 automatic, with his fingerprints on it." "But why was she with Jamal or James or whoever he was?" I asked. "We found evidence that they were lovers. I am sorry, but it is what it is." I had no idea. This just keeps getting worse and worse. Do you know how long this has been going on? I asked. No idea, but we don't think long. He has only been here in town for a couple of months. You see why we first thought you might have something to do with it, but the longer and deeper we get into it, this looks like it had more to do with his history with the cartel than a jealous husband. Sorry for your loss, and we will keep you advised on the progress of the investigation. I am sure you want justice for your wife. I do, but please do not involve me or my boys in it. Those cartel people are vicious. I mean, they found someone in the witness protection program. If you cross them, they get their pound of flesh. I promise not to involve you, and again, sorry for your loss. They walked out, and the only other time I ever heard from them was when the coroner called and said I could pick up her body. I called a crematorium and had her cremated. I took her to the beach and waded out into the water. Sue, you lying, cheating woman, I know how much you hated the beach, so I am going to let you live here forever. I hope you rot in hell. I poured her into a big wave and laughed as I walked back to the car. I had taken off work for 2 weeks. Grieving? Hell no. Playing with my boys, I heard a car drive up and I went to the window to see who was here. I was not expecting company. It was that black Lincoln town car. Oh shit, what is this about? The doorbell rang and I opened it to find Maria standing there with Louis carrying 2 suitcases. I hear you are looking for a live-in nanny? Well, cancel the ad. You just found one. My mouth was open and I could not find words. Don't just stand there, go help Louis with my other bags. I followed Louis to the car and we brought in 4 more suitcases. When I shut the door, after shaking Louis's hand and him winking at me, I found Maria in the den playing with the twins. They were rolling on the floor, laughing, wrestling, and pulling on her long hair. Have these boys eaten lunch yet? No. Well, you take over and I'll go find them something. That was how my life with Maria started. She moved into my bedroom that first night. The next morning, she put everything that Sue had in the house. Clothes, pictures, makeup, everything in plastic garbage bags and called Goodwill. They sent a truck and hauled it away. While the boys were down for their nap, we sat at the table. I was trying to talk, but the words were stuck in my throat. Go on, Robert, let's get it over with. Ask me whatever you want to know. How? I asked. Fair question. Well, by the time your wife got there that morning, Jamal was in Mexico. We snatched him the night before as he walked into his house after finishing his shift at the warehouse. We made sure his prints were on the gun before he left. When Sue got there at about 9:30 that morning, I was the only one there. I told her you had decided to not accept her deal and that I would be raising her kids. For her not to worry, I would take good care of them and you. Then I put 3 rounds in her chest. She went quickly. Oh, I almost forgot. I told her you could have me anytime you wanted it, and that you would never have to worry about me giving you sloppy seconds. I grinned at that, but wow. This woman pulled the trigger. Do you know where the investigation is now? And what about Jose? The police are looking for Jamal as the murderer. The feds are trying to distance themselves from him. First, because he is wanted for the murder of your wife, and second, because the judge ruled that the video of Jose and Jamal at the shooting range to be authentic. It showed Jamal laying his pistol down and Jose putting in the magazine. Jose then fires 10 rounds and comments on what a nice gun Jamal has just bought. When Jose is packing up his pistol, Jamal puts his pistol in a plastic bag. That was the gun that Jamal killed the corner boy with. He got Jose's prints on it and saved it for when he needed a get-out-of-jail-free card. They are looking for him for that murder also. Jose is at home with our father. Our father. She is Jose's sister. What happened to Jamal? I was not there for that party, but I hear he is buried in the desert south of El Paso. I need to know one more thing. This is more of a personal question, but very important. Go ahead. I will not lie to you. The problem with Sue was the size, you know, of my Johnson. If that is going to be a problem, let's end this between us now. Sue broke my heart and I ended up hating her. You gringos have a saying I like. It goes something like this. It is not the size of the magician's wand, but the magic in it. Believe me, Robert, you have more than enough magic for me. We were married 3 months later. She wanted to honeymoon in Cancun, Mexico, so I let her make all the arrangements. It turned out Father owns one of the resorts there. I noticed that she never had asked me for a dime. Not money for groceries, the light bill, the pool service, nothing. Also, the plane tickets after the wedding just seemed to appear. I asked about taking the twins, and she said not on the honeymoon. She arranged a nanny. She was a nice older Mexican lady. I found out later that she was Maria's nanny when she was a child and still took care of her. Louis was the lady's husband and Maria's bodyguard. They lived with us after we returned home. My boys call Maria Mommy and think she is their birth mother. The old lady is referred to as Abe, short for Abuela. Our kids are bilingual, of course, and we never told them the story of their real mother. Life goes on. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.